Okay, now we're really motoring. If you followed the first 5 steps, you're now starting to accumulate some assets, some passive income, and some wealth. In today's world, you might as well paint a big target on your chest and say, "Come and get me, Mr. Taxman." So you've taken the serious decision to take personal control of your financial future. You've used all the resources of the Elite Investor Club to educate yourself about what's really going on in the financial world. You've automated the habit of saving a percentage of everything you earn in your job or your business. You've started building a portfolio of assets that are throwing off passive income. And you've built one or more businesses as cash-generating machines that also have the potential for a significant liquidity event when you sell them. What's not to like so far? Well, nothing when you're among friends like the people you meet at Elite Investor Club events, but there is a big bad bogeyman waiting to ambush you. He goes by the name of HMRC, aka the Taxman. To be absolutely fair, he's the policeman doing the dirty work of the real villain of the piece, the Chancellor. It's the Chancellor's job to raise the money the government needs to fulfill the promises it makes to the electorate. The problem is, most of the electorate are already on handouts of one sort or another from the government. And in case you haven't noticed, it's now a crime to be successful in the UK. I find it breathtaking to see how a supposedly conservative Chancellor, George Osborne, can so systematically go after the very people who you'd consider to be his core voters. The arrogance of last year's unexpected landslide, perhaps? Or is it that we're simply representing such a soft target? If you want to be seen as a man of the people before a party leadership contest and the next general election, how better to appeal to white van man than by soaking the rich? Of course, the definition of rich is proving remarkably flexible. We now have school teachers paying higher rate tax. Dare to earn $100,000 a year and you start to have your personal tax allowances taken away. By the time you reach $120,000, your effective tax rate is 60%, the highest in Europe. Buy a second home or a buy-to-let and there's a 3% stamp duty surcharge. Own a business and you can now only pay yourself £5,000 in dividends before tax kicks in. And the inheritance tax limits have been in place for years and are dragging many ordinary middle-class families into what used to be the preserve of the super rich, death duties. And scariest of all, Osborne has given new powers to HMRC that demonstrate the extent of his desperation to raise more cash. Not only can they raid your home or business and take away anything they like without a court order, not only can they access your bank accounts and strip them of cash to pay what they regard as unpaid tax, they can now issue the most undemocratic instrument since the Nazis ruled Germany, the APN. Tens of thousands of these accelerated payment notices have been issued. They require you to pay the amount of tax deemed to be due by HMRC before any tribunal has been held to determine if you actually owe the money. I know of one guy in Spain who has recently been asked to pay £604,000 in 30 days. His only option? To sell his main home at a fire sale price to a cash buyer and move into rented accommodation, and then wait upon Her Majesty's pleasure for God knows how long before a tribunal decides on the merits of the case. What if HMRC is proved wrong? Does he get compensated for losing hundreds of thousands on his house? Of course not. HMRC make a mistake? Never been known in the history of mankind. Except they've already fessed up that one scheme they thought was illegal turned out to be completely above board. Scores of innocent victims get the cash back without interest, apology or compensation. And don't worry if the scheme you invested in was legal at the time. The government will happily oblige with some retrospective legislation to make it illegal if that serves HMRC's purpose. If this sort of thing happened in France, there'd be overturned cars burning in the streets. It really is time for the big fight back in timid old Britain. Our tax code was already the second largest in the world. Osborne has added 30% to it in recent years. It's genuinely impossible for one human being to know it all, and it's lunacy for you to think you can ignore it. Let me make it plain. The more wealth you accumulate, the more money you need to be spending on experts to help protect it. And there are some ingenious steps you can take to ring-fence your wealth for yourself and future generations. Depending on your circumstances, I can introduce you to some of the UK's leading tax experts who can protect high income and/or significant assets from attack in a perfectly legal way that won't lead to you being Jimmy Card or Gary Barlowed. Neither of whom incidentally did anything wrong, and neither of whom has had to repay a penny to the taxman. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Yes and no. It's knowing what you don't know, and knowing who to turn to who can help you address the important areas you don't know about. And it's personal recommendation of the right experts rather than the lottery of an online search. These people are part of our ecosystem here at Elite Investor Club, and they're waiting to help you when the time is right. We've just got one episode left. Don't even dream of skipping it because it's the most important of all. And I'll see you very soon. That's the start of financial independence. Money coming in for which you do no new work. Quietly builds up to the point where you realize that you have some choices. Maybe I only need to work 3 or 4 days a week now.